Here we are, and going forward, something that you brought up to me on the phone in our many conversations when we check in is about the IRA Roth conversions, and I thought you had a really good point there. I was wondering, what is the structure and the strategy, the focus this year for the IRA conversion that was not true with the Roth IRA specifically, which was not true in the past?
Yeah, retirement planning, I'm sure, is a big part of all our practices. And 2010 has a year where it's opened up this ability where people did not have the availability to convert Roth IRAs.
So how do they do it this year in, like, say, three simple steps?
Well, basically, we're not tax advisors, okay, and we have to take them on a case-by-case basis.
Right.
Okay? There's advantages, there's disadvantages, and then there's questions that really need to be asked to see if it really fits the person. Basically, the biggest advantage from the Roth IRA is the ability to take out tax-free withdrawals. The traditional IRA is taxable when you take the money out. The Roth has tax-free withdrawals.
So every time the client takes it out in the future in the Roth, they have no tax headaches whatsoever.
They have no tax. Right. There are some rules. It has to be in there for 5 years. You have to be over 59 and a half, and some other other things.
Very attractive.
Like first-time home buyers. Yes. But the point of the matter that I'm trying to say is that they say there's two things that are certain: death and taxes. Okay, we all try to avoid death, and certainly a lot of people will try to avoid taxes. When you do this conversion,
lots of luck with that.
When you do this conversion, you're immediately subjecting yourself to a tax liability. So the advantages of doing this conversion must weigh equally or be more advantageous to pay the taxes today rather than in the future. And what I like to look at initially is, if the client's not planning to use the money for retirement, and because the Roth IRA has no required minimum distribution, you do have the availability to pass this on to future generations on a tax-free basis. And another thing I want to add is, the question with conversions, we have to come and make some assumptions. And that's the thing. And one of the biggest assumptions is, where's future tax rates going? Are they going to stay the same? Are they going to go down? Are they going to go up? Okay, if you think that interest or income tax rates will be higher in the future, then it might be beneficial to do the conversion, pay the tax today, and then benefit from the higher tax rates down the road.
The human element is such that generally an investor always likes the ideas in the future they can take money out of their account and not pay tax on it no matter what happens.
That's true. But remember, they're paying the tax up front.
Right.
Now, this year, 2010, is the only year, if you do it this year, the government is allowing you to stretch out the tax payments over a 2-year period. That would be for your tax year 2011 and 2012. So you get 50% in 2011, 50% in 2012. If you do it after 2010, you have to pay the tax on the year of the conversion.
It's a good deal.
Yeah. One of the other abilities is it's almost like a mulligan in the golf course, okay? We have something that's called a recharacterization. Let's say you do the conversion, and a year later you have a boost up in your income, or you decide you really didn't want to do it, or maybe your investments tanked. You have the ability to just say, I give it back.
Right.
You can take it back, you can put it back in the traditional IRA, and it's as if it never even occurred.
Getting those calls already, a recharacterization.
Yes, okay. So the recharacterization is an important thing, and I even have some people spreading them out into numerous Roth IRAs with the intentions of, taking part of it back with the investments that went down. One of the major things you have to look about is the amount of time that the Roth is going to be able to be built up. Okay. Generally, I like to use a 10-year period. If you don't have 10 years to have this thing grow, it might not make sense for paying the tax today and not having that ability. You need the time.
Great deal for a young investor.
You need the time. Also, the tax could potentially bump you into a higher tax bracket. If that's the case, you might not want to consider doing the Roth. You might be better off taking the upfront deduction, okay, in the traditional, and then maybe consider doing the conversion later on. The most important factor is not having enough money to pay the tax. You don't want to go into the IRA to pay the tax. You want to be able to have the money outside of the IRA to pay the tax. You don't want to diminish the value of the account. So those are the main disadvantages. I would be very careful about looking. There's a lot of information on the internet. There's many Roth conversion calculators, and they're filled with a lot of assumptions, and you really need to work with a qualified tax advisor and work with us, okay, in helping them structure it to make sure what's really beneficial for the client.
So is this an all or nothing proposition in this situation?
No, that's another benefit, Alan. You can do partial conversions. You can take a piece of your traditional IRA and move it over. If you don't want to, burden yourself with a substantial tax debt, you are allowed to take any piece and you can do the conversion in bits and pieces.
So you have diversification within your own retirement accounts.
Absolutely. You can have some traditional and you can have some Roth.
Makes sense.
So basically, to summarize, if you can afford to pay the tax, right, if you plan to leave some of the assets to your family, if you assume that your tax rate's going to be higher when you retire, and you feel that you can recoup the money in taxes due to the conversion,
it's a great way to go.
It might make sense to do the rollover. Well, I can't thank you enough for making this trip. Stay well. I hope the acting career continues. I'm sure it will, and we're looking forward to seeing you in a lot of things in the future.
With you as my new agent, I can't fail.
Maybe you can get me a part. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call. Thanks.